Hi, I'm Alim Ul Karim, and today I'm going to demonstrate how to work with Microsoft Linq and EntityFramework 5. At this point, when I'm recording this video, there are already 101 examples from Microsoft on Linq, and I suggest you to look at them, and you can see the link URL here. And before we move on, I would like to point out some prerequisites to learn the concepts from this video. The prerequisites are listed here. I hope you have completed all of them. If you don't have any knowledge from any one of them, you should learn them and then watch the video. It will be effective for you. And another thing I would like to point out, since here we have taken a console application. In a console application, Microsoft gives us the system.linq namespace as a bonus. So make sure that you have system.linq imported in your program, and then you can do what I'm doing here. It is a pretty simple application, and here I have two methods, and one of them is for printing a list of strings and another is printing list of integers, and I have 4 arrays of different values, and I have a list that I'm going to cover throughout this video, and I would like to start from the simplest examples. I will be brief as much as possible and straightforward to make you understand in every step. And again, before I move on, I would like to point out what is Linq. Linq is language integrated query, which is developed by Microsoft, and with the help of Linq you can query any data structure in .NET. And when I say any, it meant any. So here I have a list of arrays, string and integers. So I could query over them using the Linq, and the Linq is highly influenced by SQL and Haskell programming language, but the key point is that if you are a SQL developer or if you have depth knowledge in SQL syntax, then you can use the long version of Linq structure, but throughout this video I'm going to use the shorter version or the shorthand notation, and maximum cases the lambda expressions. So if you don't know the lambda expression, this is the video that you should start from. So I would like to show all the items from the list of items using the Linq. So I would like to start from the basic one. First I'm going to write a long query from item, let's say temp list. From item in items, select item. Here if I hover over to the var, I can see that it gives me a interface of immutable. Interface of immutable is object type that I have written in my prerequisite that you should have known to know this far, but I would like to explain a little bit. The interface type of immutable and queryable both does not execute the query until the data is needed. If I run my program right now, since I haven't printed it, you don't know if it is ran or not, but even though I wrote the code but it does not run or give any result to the temp list, it was null throughout. So when I iterate through them, like if I run a for each statement on temp list, my query will run and each time it will give me a result. So this is how the interface of immutable or interface of queryable works. So when you need in-memory data, you should take a list of data bracket dot to list or two array or two list type of data. Most of the time two list is the best choice, because with two list you can remove data or add data or anything you can do, but with two array you cannot add data or remove them, but you can change them in place. For this purpose I'm going to select the two array, because it will give me a list of strings, so I can easily run my print method on the list to see the result. It's pretty simple. I'm getting the exact result from this list. I could have said the items, but the thing is I could change here. When I'm using the select statement, I could do anything like extra. If I say extra, so every item will contain extra. I could change the numbers. If I take the numbers and use, let's see, number 1, and change my method to print integers list, since it is a list of integers. So let's see, I'm getting +1 statements. I could search through them and get the specific data. We will move on to this later. Throughout this video I'm going to use the shorthand notation of Linq. So I would like to convert the long version to short version right now. Word temp list goes, if I'm choosing the numbers from the list, numbers dot select. Here we are going to use the Haskell programming syntax structure, but in Linq Lambda expression. So in a Lambda expression, the first thing you write is the single object from the list. So if I'm saying item, then this item would refer to the single item from this list. Item, then I'm getting the item and plussing 1 with them, and then get a array. So now I can print it. I get the same result. So as you can see that whether we write long or short version of query, it's just based on our preference, that what we choose, the outcome or the result is same. Now we're going to look at the where syntax. If you are a SQL expert, then where would be very much similar to you, but here I'm going to use the shorthand notation then with using the Lambda expression. So since I'm getting the 1 plus from this list, I could choose a where. I could say item. When I'm saying item here, what it meant is it gets item from this list. Remember the list, it has 1 plus from this list, so the list was actually like 3, 4, 6, 11. So if I say that greater than 3, I should get the 3 items, not the first item. Or I could say that greater than 2, I will get the all items. I could say item where item is greater than 2. So I could say 2 array here. See, I'm getting all the items. Since my first item was 2, now it became 3, and 3 is actually greater than 2, so I'm getting all my results. So I think I can make you understand that when I'm saying the item, it meant the last list that I have been through. So I could be a little more specific here, even though, so I could say less than 10. So I'm getting only 3, 4, 6. I could use also the OR operator to broaden my search. I could say item equal 11. So choose this list of items or choose 11. So I will get the 4 items as previous. See? But if I made a query here, before here, I would have to say equal 10. Item if I say 11, I will get nothing. Because here we are getting a list where the number is equal to 11, so there is no number that is equal to 11, so I'm getting nothing, and over nothing I'm doing these expressions that greater than 2 and less than 4, so I'm getting the 3 only, or I'll take item equals 10. Now let's see the list. Okay, I'm not getting the expected result. So here I had made a mistake that my numbers in the last output result, I made the list, it must be less than 10. So should take it out and I get my expected result. So this is basically the where clause. You can add as many as you want, and you can separate them by using the enter. You can use where as many times as you want, and this is the fun of Linq. Now we're going to look at the select many and select an index examples, because we have already seen the select examples. So let me start. Temp list equals first the select many. So in select many you can list items as a pair of objects. So if I write numbers dot select many number, and then when I'm saying number, I'm getting a single number from this list. So then I'm saying I'd like to get the items list, and then select item as item. Then I'd like to pass it as a pair, and I would like to make a new list of number goes to number item So here I'm getting a new type of object. If you hover over, you can see that I'm getting an object which have two properties. One is number and the other is item. I could write as many as I want. You can write your custom type, like k say custom something equals to hello. You can write any expression you like. So if I divide them, this is not the right way to give your code to clients, but for this demonstration I am separating them in this way so that you can look at the code at once. So if I like to print them using my method, I can, because this is a new type of object. So what I can do is run a for each loop. So like this, console.writeLine, and I could say custom string equals to near and that would be easier for me to get the items. Let's do something. So if I print it, I'm getting the numbers. For each number I'm getting the all items from the items list. This is the items list, and here we have the whole list. And then we are going to see the index example. This is pretty common and very useful, I think. So here I'm getting every number from the list. So if I want to get every number with the index, what I can do is write them like this and print them. How to print them? Giving the items, the numbers plus okay, what I have done wrong. Oh, I'm getting the strings array, so I should I'm getting the left side index as the right side index. So this is how you can select index using the index attributes like this, and this is same for any lambda expression. For select, for where you need, you can use it. Now I am moving on to the take example. Take is pretty interesting. If I have a list and I'd like to take items from, I would like to take 5 items from the list or 3 items from the list, I could just say the list numbers dot take dot 3. That's it. Give me 3 items. It is like a query of select top. If you are familiar with the SQL syntax, it is like the top 3. Select top 3 of column from table. Like this. So when you are saying take, if it is a query against EntityFramework or entity datasets, the background query will be like this. So I'd like to print out my list. So I'm getting the 3 items in the list. So if I want to choose the if I want to choose 3 to 10, so what can I do? I could use the skip. If I use escape and say 1, then it will escape the first one and then give me the 3 array items. I could write them here as, so you can look and understand what's in the list. So if I print it, I will get 3, 5 and 10. So if I say 2, will it give an error? No, it doesn't. It is pretty smart. When you say 3 or more than that, it only gives the last length of items. So here I'm getting only 2, because when I'm escaping 2, it escapes this and takes 3. Since here is only 2 items, so it returns only the 2 items. So this is the escape and take. These are pretty simple, and it also follow the ordering. So if I say take 3 here and say escape 2 there, then first what it will do is it will take the 3 items and then escape the 2 items. So it will eventually give me the 5. So this is how it works. So if you say 5 here, and you will get nothing. So this is how it works. Now let's see the TakeWhile. TakeWhile is interesting. I'm taking the numbers from the list as n, and what I'm going to say is take the numbers when the numbers are less than or equals to 2. So when these conditions are true, here it is true, it is equals to 2, here it is true, here it is true, here it is true, but here it is false. But I could write like this, 2 here, and I could write minus 1 here. So I could say 2 and minus 1 here. So at this point this is true, these conditions are true, here it is false, and here true, here true. So if I run the query, I will get only these results. Oh, sorry, I picked the wrong array. Should write 3. So here I have 2, 2, 2, minus 3, and I don't have minus 1 and then 2, because as I said, because when I fail the condition, it does not return any result. So last thing I have is SkipWhile. SkipWhile is the opposite of TakeWhile. The result we are getting in the TakeWhile, the opposite result we are getting in the SkipWhile. So if I run, I will get 10 minus 1, 2. When it is succeeded, it doesn't give any result. When it is fails, it gives the result. That's it, simple. Then we are going to move on to the grouping section. For this example, I'm going to include a database. I have already created a database. I'm going to include it in my project, and I'm going to use the entity data model. We already had a connection string exist, so I don't want to see this diagram. This is not a table. So I will show you the database structure. It's pretty simple. For the convention, I use the every table name with the ID to make it the ID field or the primary key, and things are pretty simple. I have a person table where I have specific information about a person, and then a person could be employee based on their information on the employee table. So, but a person cannot be employed twice. So here we have a restriction, and I could have one person in an employee table, and the person is unique in the person table. So I have this key sign in both sides, and here we have it is also a primary and foreign key, but we have restrictions here. Here we have the designation table. In the designation table we have I'm going to change the designation column to virtual 20. Could not be designation name. Yes. So here designation is the primary key in its table and it's foreign key in my employee table. And I have few sample data in my tables. I go to my person table. I have these persons, and here in the employee table, here in the designation table, I have 4 designation exist with this imaginary salary, and in the employee table I have the links or the primary foreign key relationship information and when they are last active. So since I have changed my database, should change my person table, and here I would like to, when you are creating entity model, here if you click on the empty surface you will see these informations. For default I don't want the lazy loading to be on. Lazy loading is a type where if you want to execute the data from, if you want to get the data from employee table, it will also get all the information from the designation table or the person table. So when you are lazy, discover the paths that where it is linked to and retrieve all the data from all other linked tables. So it is too much costly, I think. So include them when it is necessary and don't be lazy. So I really prefer to make it false. And you make entity model. Here you will see the entity model name. Here we have the name is only entities, but I think I should go for test entities be good. And here you have code generation. If you don't have code generation, you cannot access the items as a class from your programming model. So you should make sure when you are only using the model, not the POCO classes. If you don't know about the POCO classes, just remain silent because this is not the topic for this video. So make sure this is default and lazy loading is false, and you know your container names. So in this case it is test entities. So I would like to create test entities as db new test entities. So here db is my context, which context contains all my tables. Person become people and employee become employees and designation become designations. Now I would like to show the grouping example. I already have a written example. I might have to modify some of them. I will get lots of error and no suggestions because I haven't included the entity framework with my project. And to include the entity framework, you can use the NuGet. If you don't have NuGet, you should get it from extension manager. Go to the extension manager, go to online gallery, search for NuGet. Here I have already installed the NuGet, so I'm not getting it. So search for NuGet, get the NuGet, install the NuGet. Then you will get the NuGet here, manage NuGet packages. Click on it, search for entity framework. install it. So I'm done. I have my entity framework in the place. Let's build my project. Include. See, here it says, if I hover over, it says that it looks for a string path, so I should write the string path. But using entity framework, we could go or use the Lambda expression also here. To use the Lambda expression here, import system.data.entity. Now you should be able to include the data tables. So what I want to include is person, and I'd like to include the designation table. So here I'm not too lazy. I'm saying specifically include these tables in my query. So it is pretty simple. Here we are using the entity framework. Entity framework is a part of ADO.NET technologies. We can communicate with the help of Linq and EntityFramework. We can communicate with any database without knowing their syntax or anything else, because in the background my Linq query generates the pure SQL query and then gives me the result from the database. I would like to implement my previous example, which I have written before. I'd like to pull it out. So here are some problems that I have changed from the database. Don't want to use the salary right now. This. So here I'm including these tables, and my main table is employee. So I'm selecting, and when I'm selecting, I am making a new object rather than selecting those old ones. I am making a new object. If I go to my var, hover over, I can see that my new objects generate two properties. One is person X and the another is integer designation. So if I go to the person X, I can see that e.personName would be my person designation, and I have another designation field with the value of designation. So, and then I am grouping them, and by this designation, which is the designation ID actually. So if I go to my database employee list, I have this designation, and common designation is the 4, so the person is 1 and 10. 10 is Alim and 1 is John Doe. So here the common ones will be in a same group and the other ones will be separated. So I'm getting this, and I'm for looping from all designation to designation. So here I'm getting a group of objects, and first I'm going to print the designation on the top, and because every designation in this list will be the same, so I'm taking the first one, FirstOrDefault. So you don't know the FirstOrDefault right now, but it does what it sounds like, and in the later video we are going to talk about this in detail. So if I run my query right now, I'll see that the designation 1 have Jessica Alba, manager, admin, writer, editor. So same type of objects are in the group. So this is how we can work with the groups. Just say the group. So the problem with this syntax, if I write this, Now I'm including the salary with my person X. See, here I'm just calling the person X rather than concatenating some text. I'm just saying here the person X. So here I'm getting an error. Why I'm getting an error? Because the thing is, when you write a query like this, and if there is no list in between, I meant if there is a list like to array, then from this to this position, this is a SQL query. So if I put my to list here, so it will be a SQL query, and based on the items I'm getting from this list, I will group them by this designation. So this is what happens when we put a list or to array or a method in between them. So without putting a list in between any method, what it does is go to the database and convert this same thing to SQL syntax, the pure SQL syntax, and then give me the result. So the problem is, here I am concatenating string with a decimal number, so it is a decimal object if I hover over. So in SQL query you cannot concate with plus or addition with some string, so it will basically give you an error. To do that, you need to execute a SQL concat method, so it will be complex for right now. To make it work, what we can do is execute my query here as immutable. So I'm getting a list here. For this, I am getting a list of object of employees, including person and designation table, and from this list, this is a dotted object right now. This is not anymore a SQL query. When I'm saying as immutable, it goes to the database, generates SQL syntax, and retrieve the data and give me the results. So here I'm getting the results and into my .NET object, and then I am selecting from the .NET object that do this, and then group this, and then give me the results. So this is how it works. Now we are going to move on to the ordering syntax. The ordering, there is too much topic. I'm not going to show all because most of them as simple as it sounds. So if I show the first example from temp list of numbers 2, take numbers 2 is already sorted, so take numbers 3 and sort them. I could use order by and m.m. Since I don't have any custom objects, so this would be my sorting procedure. But if I have a complex data structure, then I would have to write dot and then the field name to specify the column to be sorted or be ordered by. So when we are using the order by in SQL, it will generate the SC or ascending order. Here, if I print it out, see, it is sorted. But what if I have a 2-column object? I made a custom object. You can write any custom object as you like. I'm not following any procedure. Input some data in my list. Okay, input some data. I would like to import this, and here is a link if you want to know about the iQueryable or iList or so on. So what I'm doing in here is creating a new list of my custom data type, and then for the length of 5 I am creating I'm entering my object into my list, and objects are came from the items object, and for the I'm pushing it as ID, and I could say that ID is -1, so let's make it integer. That's right, let's make it integers. So I will get a disordered list of ID. So if I want to print it out, I could print it out. Should have a print method for custom data type. Yes, I do have. Oh, that's it. So it is also pretty simple. I'm taking the list. If there is any item, I'm for looping, and I'm taking the length from its nested list. If it is greater than 0, then I would loop through them and show the list items. Okay, pretty simple. So first what I should do is print my custom list. Should see the ordering that it has these basic values in it. Now if I want to sort it based on the ID, I could use my ordering from here. I could say list equals list dot order by ID, and then I would like to order by them. When I said then by, it means that whatever you are doing before, do the same as here with different column. Okay, I'm getting an error. Let me fix. Let's see what I've done wrong. Oh, sorry, the mistake was the two list. I was getting an interface of immutable or orderable, and my object looks for a list object, and I didn't cast it, so I was getting the error. So if I look for it, I'm getting -4, 3, 2. The first thing is I'm getting by this column, and then I should get by this column. And if I could see this, if I have the same values on my list, because if I don't have same value, it doesn't work. So to put the same value, I could say excuse me, now I have two items, 4, and T comes after 4, as you can see. So if B goes the upper level, so I can test it like this. Rather than saying the items, take S from the item. Let's see, I have changed those. If I have 4, I'm changing it to Z UI. The first letter is Z. So, and next I'm going to change the 3 to be ABC. So without this, if I don't run this, my results are 4 minus 4. I have the 4 on top and 3 on the bottom. So if I do this, I think ABC will, since that I'm replacing the 4 with the Z UI, so it will be bottom, and if 3, I'm saying ABC, so it will be on the top. So let's see. So I forgot to say it as S. See, I'm getting the ABC on top and the ZUI on the bottom. So this is how the ordering works, like ThenBy. So if you choose, then so if you want to order then descending by, then you should choose the descending, then by descending. So it makes sense. All the methods make sense and it's pretty to understand, but the first thing is you have to understand how the ThenBy works. Let's move on to the distinct, union, intersect and accept methods. So first I would like to try on distinct method. So it is pretty simple. For these examples I'm going to use these arrays, and as you have seen so far, that what you can do with entity sets you can do with arrays, and what you can do with the arrays you can do with the entity sets. So the example I am showing can easily interpret it into the databases, and on databases or any custom object you just have to specify a specific column, but here we are take distinct from a single list of elements, so we don't have to specify a column. So let me demonstrate this. So if I choose from numbers 3 and I say distinct, that's it, I'm done. So if I had a custom type of list and I had 4 or 5 columns, then I should write the lambda expression like this, n dot column, like this. But here I have only one column, or you can say the one list of items, one type of items, so I don't have to specify the columns, only the distinct will do the work. So to array, if I print it, I will get the distinct results from this list. So again, now if I try to get the union, what union does is first it gets the distinct element from a single list and then take the unique item from the other list that the first list doesn't contain. Let me demonstrate that first. So if I say union of numbers 2, that means it takes a mutable or a list. So we have to pass a list. We are passing the numbers 2. So basically what here doing is they are taking a distinct. So I don't have to write the distinct like that, but in a union function, first what it's doing is taking a distinct of this list of elements and then taking a distinct of this list of elements and then combine the unique elements from this list which does not exist in this list. So if I run the example, you will see that these are my unique items from the first list numbers, and second I'm getting the items from this list, and here 2 and 10 2 and 10 are common in the previous list, so they are not including this, except they are only including 3 and 5. So this is how the union works. And if I try to use the intersect of number 2, then I will only get 2 and 10, the common ones between this list. 2 and 10, 2 and 10. This is it. Except it is like the set of, if I had a result like the result, and result if I have a set of A minus set of B, here set of items is 2, 3 and so on, so they will take a distinct of these items and a distinct of these items, and then remove the items from A where it is common from numbers, or you can say the B. I could write it here, so my result would be the here 2 is common, so 2 is out, minus 3 is not common, so minus 3 will be added in my list, and 10 is common between two lists, so 10 will be out, minus 1 is not common, then minus 1 will be in my new list. So my result would be minus 3 and minus 1 in my new list. So let's check it out. So this is how this for function works. These are pretty simple. Now let's move on to count, and I have a pretty simple example written in my list, so I'm going to pull out, sorry. Here I have simplest example for this numbers list, and I'm going to disable this. Now if I print this, I could talk about all of them at once. So here I have the list item 2, 3, 5, 10. Total length is 4 and count is also 4. As I am executing, count is also 4. But the thing is, count is a method. What it does is it executes at the runtime, and length gives the previous memory result. So my list has 4 items. My object array knows that, so it does not calculate each item and give the length. It already has it saved and give me the result. But in count, it runs a loop and then count the item and then give me the result. So length is much more faster, but the count is not when you are executing it as a method. But you can also use it as a property when you take it as a list item from the database or any object. Next we have the max. From this list, the max is 10 we are getting. It's pretty simple, easy as pie. And here we have sum, which is greater than 2, and greater than 2 is 3, 5, 10. 3, 5 is 8 and 10 is 10, so 10 plus 8 is 18. Sum is 18, and I had 3 items. Sorry, I have 4 items and my total sum is 20, so my average would be 5, and for the minimum I have 2 at the minimum of my list, and this is it. I think this doesn't need any more explanation because these are easy as it sounds. Let's move on to the next topic. Here I have an example written on concat list. Concat is basically do the join the two lists without any condition or without any distinction. I'm taking numbers 2, which is numbers 2, and adding the numbers 3 with my numbers 2 list. So if I print it, I will get this results. So this is pretty much same 2, 3, 5, 10, minus 3, 5, minus 1. Here my numbers 2 is finished, and then my numbers 3 is added. 2 minus 3, 5, minus 3, 10, minus 1, 2, 3. That's it. There is no fancy, there is nothing fancy or nothing complex. It's pretty simple and straightforward. Second, we are going to see the SequenceEqual. So for testing this SequenceEqual, I have resetted this very list of integers, and the numbers in both of those lists are same if we take a distinct elements. So if I run my or take my example, here I have written the same thing for the convenience so that we can look every item. So I'm taking the distinct elements from numbers 2, and then I'm taking the distinct element from number 3. Then I'm checking is it equal, and I'm printing two arrays and then the value. And then what I'm doing is sorting them, and then I'm printing them and then checking is it sequence equal or not, and then printing the result. Okay, let's see the result. It's pretty straightforward, and here I have the distinct list. As you can see, the list has the same elements but not in the same place, and so my sequence is false. And the next time I had sorted them, so everything at the same position, as you can see, and my sequence is true. So this is a straightforward example. I don't think you need more explanation for this. And now we can move on to the next item. Here let's work with the range. Mutable range. So 0 to 10. Okay. Print it out and comment out the previous one. So I'm getting 0 to 9 actually. To get 10 I have to write 11, and I can also use the select operator to check some things. If divided by 2, then it's even or it is odd. Pretty basic example from MSDN. And now it would be a list of strings. So that's it. Then I can also use the repeat. Repeat is also same. maybe it's like 5, repeat 2 times, and this, keep it simple, repeat ex, repeat print number, let's print it out, it'll be 5 2 times. So if I write 100 here and 3 times, I'll get 100 3 times. That's it. It's like a for loop but in one line. Now I'm going to work with the all and any quantifiers. So both of them returns a boolean. So it works like this. If I take all result and taking this list, copy the list, make it simple here. So here, if I would like to test all of them, and equals 2 will return a boolean extension. So right now, okay, new result. Let's print this. So first case, not all of the elements are 2, but for any there is exist element that is 2 is true. So it is also pretty straightforward and simple to when you want to see that every element is same, we can check with all, and if we want to execute in the database, like if exist element, so at this point we can use the any method. To explain these 5 topics, I'm going to use our database, which we have included previously, and here I have created a view, and the view is pretty simple. This is the query that I am doing in the view, and all the properties from the employees are joined, and I have imported that view into my EDMX model, and now I can access it. And to read them after querying, I have already written 2 methods, and I'm going to import them. So this is a method to print my employee from the view, a single employee, and this is for multiple employees as a list. So to get the examples, I would like to open my results so that I can go back and forth and see what is happening. First, I would like to see all my employees, that how it looks for this db.view, and that's it. And I should use my print employees. Oops. They should do the work. So it doesn't look good or cool, but I'm getting the results. So make it better, what I can do is make some room. Let's see, it looks good, not bad, but you can view. One of the things is missing, that I could write the numbers. So if there is only one item, I could console.write dot Postgres from 1. Still doesn't look so good, but we can manage and can see that we can get all the results from our database. And now I'm going to explain that I could minimize few of them, like the age or the date of birth. Auditor salary. So let's see, how can I explain those? Here, first I would like to start with the single one. In this example, if I write single, and single will give me a simple single object. So print employee. So I will get an error if I run this. Let's see, should get an error. Single always accepts one item. If I don't have one item, it throws an error. If I have more than one item, it throws an error. So single is a restriction. When I'm using single, I'm saying my query that it should only give one item, not more than one. If it gives more than one, give me an error. If it is null, give me an error. So this is single. So if I say single, so if I make a query like say Alim, that's my name. So I'm looking for my name in one of the entities, and I am expecting one result, not less than one result or not more than one result. So see, I get the one result. So if I write Alim X, so there is no entity with my name and X, so no elements, so I'm getting an error. So to solve this puzzle, what I can do is single and default. What single and default do is it gives one result, but if there is no result, it doesn't yield for a error. So I am safe if it is null or one result, but if I have more than one result, then I'm not safe. I will get an error. So get my point. Let's make it clear. Here, single always for one result, not more, not less. Single default always expecting for one result or null. If more than one, then throw here. So that's it for now. So getting an error. To solve this again, I could use first sorry, I made a mistake. I could use FirstOrDefault. FirstOrDefault. Okay, there is a mistake that I had made. So if employee is now equals to now, turn. That's it. So I'm not getting any result, so I am not printing anything, no result at all. What I can do is I can print that there is no result. Then so no results. So it's like first is solving our problem even though there is not more than one item. So what's the difference between first and single? I am getting the error if I change it to first. If I use first, if there is no result, null, then it will throw an exception. For first, if there is no item, then it throws an exception. But if there is more than one, no problem. So this is the difference between the single and the first. So FirstOrDefault does is no problem, no condition, no restriction at all. Open, no restrictions at all. So these are the four things, and here I have wrote take one. Take one is same as FirstOrDefault. So if I have more than one result, if I go up here and here, if I look for the first starts with H on the last name, starts with H, I have two results. So which one I can pick? It depends on the query. It's ordering by its primary key, so Alan has the less number than even Harper. So it's basically your decision when you should choose what, but mostly I use FirstOrDefault, but and FirstOrDefault actually executes the select top one or top one from the query or something, some sort like this. But others have some programming restrictions after getting the result from the database. So it's basically your call what to use and when to use what. And I think everything is clear, and if you have any question, you can email me. So let's move on to our next topic, which is EntityFramework 5. But this is not restriction between EntityFramework 4 or 5. You can work with 4 with this same technique. So what we have done so far, there are some techniques we have covered that involves EntityFramework, but here we are going to communicate with the database more than before. In this section, I am going to demonstrate how to work with CRUD functionality with databases using EntityFramework. Up until this point, we have seen how to read from databases, but we haven't seen how to create an entity or modify database or delete entity from the database. So in this section we are going to see how it works. So I have a brief example for my CRUD's first topic is create, and I'm going to pull it out. It is pretty basic and simple example. I have created two person classes and I have used two approaches or two patterns to create the classes, and as you can see it is very easy to read and there is nothing more interesting about it. So after creating two classes, I have made a call to the database if that person is exist. So how I'm going to check query, I have written a method, and here I have created my DB, and I am going to check with if my person is exist with the first name and the email. That's it. I'm going to be very brief and as simple as possible. So here I'm getting that if it is exist, so here I am saying that if not exist, if that person does not belong to the database, then add that object to my people table. And second, I'm doing the same thing with the person2 object, and then I'm going to use the db.savechanges and with this command you are going to achieve all CRUD functionalities. What you have done with the entities, you don't have to remember. The entities will remember what you have done, and when you execute the save changes, it will automatically execute the SQL commands behind the scene as per your need. So here we are only adding the person, and if I go to my database, there is no person exist in my database. So if I run my code, I will see in this line here what we will get the changes number. If we have 4 changes or 4 updates or deletes, then we will get the total of 4 here. So here I'm just saying that total changes is this, and then getting the person from the database. So we're just saying the starting with P with the first name, because here is no person with the first name P, so we will get the person eventually. After getting the people, what I'm doing is printing my people using this method, which is very simple. I am iterating through each of them and showing them. Let me just remove the spaces to make it more clean. And yeah, here I have my print person. If I run my program right now, I will have 2 changes. So if I run my program again, I should not have 2 changes, because the code is already checking that if a person is exist, then do not add this person, and if don't exist, then create that person. So theoretically I should not have any changes in my next execution, but there is a problem when we execute our program, and if you go to the person table, you will not see the person. There is a simple explanation for that. When you include a database to your program, Windows Forms or WPF or console application, what it does is when you execute it, it creates the same database inside your debug folder. If you have ASP.NET applications, you will not face this problem, this kind of problem. To solve this problem, what I do is go to the properties of this database and then select the copy always to copy if newer. So this is simple, and I don't think there is any explanation needed. So if I run my program right now, I will see 0 changes. And if I include that database with in my application, and if I go through the database without any entities, go through it, I will see that person has been created. So this is what you are going to face if you don't see the whole example. And let me run it again. Here we will see the zero changes. So excuse me. So if I haven't done that, let me exclude this and let me change the content if newer to always, and if I run it again, I'll see 2 changes. So I think I'm clear about what I'm trying to explain, and if you have any questions, you can email me right away. I will try to explain it as much as possible. So I have shown the create example. Let me show you the modify example. For that, let me pull out my modify example. So here is my simple modify example. Here I am saying in the console that please press enter to see the next edit or update functionality. So here I have printed some basic things to show my program that what we are doing, and here in the people we are querying the person from the tables, and after getting the person I could just throw this away because we already have a person query. It is same as this. So first thing I should do is go to the properties and change it to copy if newer, and then what I am going to do is keep this code and remove this code, because we don't have to pull out the same thing again from the database. And with the entity framework you don't have to remember the object. This is very tough to explain. Let me show you and give you an example, and then you will understand about it. Here my people is a collection of people. I could get also the list of peoples, anything, but what entity will do when I make the changes, it will remember in my entity table that it has been changed. I don't have to keep any track of that. So it is simple. You don't have to remember or track of any object. So I'm iterating through every people where I'm getting here to 2 people, iterating through each people as a person, and then I'm replacing edited if exists any edited. So after replacing the edited, I am adding the edited. Why I replaced it? Because if I run the program twice, so it will add the edited in my person's first name, which will be disastrous. So to make it simple, I have replaced it and then add the edited with my person name. So another thing that I have used as parallel, you should know that you can, with the help of Linq, you can use the threading as a piece of cake or easy as a pie. When I'm saying that as parallel, the system will automatically generate the threads based on capability. So there is a simple for loop query, but for loop example, but with the parallel threading. So here not one person edited one at a time, rather than a 3-person or 2-person has been edited at a time. My processor is not sit there and doing some linear operation, but it is doing some parallel operations. So I think it is not clear right now, but there are some blogs or some examples to make it easy, and I think I will give you at the end of my video. But for now, just remember that when you say the as parallel, it will run as in different threads, and there will be a parallel loop for each of the objects. Not for each of the objects, but as much as your processor is capable of. So here I am again doing my save, and when I'm doing the save, it always remember what I have done through my examples, and then go to my database and save the changes or delete the changes, and whatever I have done, it will run the SQL query behind the scenes. So if I run my program again, I will see my person example, and if I say enter, and if I say enter again, I have Okay, I have made a mistake here. I have a read line. So if I go there, so first I have two changes of person and person P. So I should enter my database and see what happened to my database. So I have 4 persons in my table. The mistake is I'm checking the first name equals the first name, and both first names are not equal, because one I have is person2 dot edited, and here I have person1 and 2. So if I run my program again, I will have no changes but 4 results. So let me pull it out. So if I press my enter button again, I will see that the 4 items has been edited, and 4 of them has the same value of edited. So if I run my program again, I will have another 2 persons, and let me see again. If I run my program again, I will see 6 persons because the 2 person has been added recently. And then if I enter again, I will see that the 4 person has been edited, 6 person has been edited, and if I run my program again and again, it will add the persons into the persons table again and again. So let me demonstrate the delete functionality. It is simple as a pie. So here I'm printing those, and let me pull it out my delete functionality. So here I am parallelly deleting all of the objects. So when I'm deleting, I'm showing that it's entity state and then save the changes. So whatever in my people table will be deleted, or in my query will be deleted from here. So it is simple. I just have wrote this to execute my delete command, and when I am executing the save changes, it will delete the data from the database using the SQL behind the scenes. So if I run my program again, I'll have 8 persons, and if I press enter, I will have 8 of them with the edited, and then if I enter, 8 of them will be deleted and no results. So if I run it again, I will start from the beginning where I have 2 examples of the persons. So this is it. So here you can see that all functionality has been covered. So if you have any other questions, you can mail me right away. And here I am giving you my contacts. Here is my contact, and you can mail me right away. And I have a blog, as you can see. You can Google me. I have a incomplete portfolio, and currently I'm studying at North-South University on CSE, and this is currently I'm doing my 6th semester. And in the video I have promised you to give a trading example, and this is a link that you should go. And over the internet I found this very helpful. This was helpful for me, and I think it should be helpful for you as well. And thank you.